Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm going to talk about return on investment, and I would also say objectives of digitization, not just digitization, but digitalization and digital transformation, because they are the three different things. So let me move my slide. Yeah, this is a little bit about me. So yeah, I've been leading the segments at IBM for about 3 years. I've also been chairing Construction Products Europe Digitalization SaaS Group for about 6 years, and I've been working a lot with the Institute of Engineering and Technology, and at Sense and level, similar to Marcia, especially specializing in the data standard and the topic around data and data interoperability. So the agenda, I would say, I'll talk about a little bit, touch on the industry landscape, what is the opportunity and the approach. I have a few case studies to show you with a couple of videos, and then just a quick summary. So hopefully I'll be on time. So industrial landscape, I don't want to really go over this again, because I'm sure Frank and others have talked about it, but I'd like to highlight some of the issues and the pain points, especially around the complex and fragmented ecosystem as construction or generally built environment and manufacturing is, and what we see in the current dynamics of the market, that we see in a massive capital inflow. We also see in investors looking at the market, and the market needs, or our industry needs, a disruptor to change, because it's a fragmented and very siloed industry, and the remote hybrid work model is bringing new challenges, and there's a never-ending increased pressure on cost reduction. And I would also say one thing as well is we've seen an influx of new applications, new solutions, new kind of, I would say, different tools, software tools, and that is causing issues as well, in my opinion, because lots of good stuff is happening, but it's happening in silos, and quite often things have been seen reinventing the wheels, which is kind of adding the complexity and to the fragmented ecosystems. And obviously the future directions, Marcia talked about standardization, absolutely, standardization regulations. We see in sustainability in Europe, there is a big topic is the EU Green Deal, and the energy transition, and lots of businesses are looking at now expanding beyond traditional. So I used to work 5 years for Wienerberger, which is used to be just a brick block building material manufacturer. They moving into the kind of more built environment sector, and vice versa. Some of the contractors like Lengo Mason moving the kind of from that production to construction operations. So looking at the new kind of business models and expanding beyond the traditional models. The opportunity and the approach. The opportunity is great, but we have to look in it from a holistic perspective. Like I mentioned, lots of siloed groups we've seen in probably the last 6 years. And I also see quite a lot that the circular economy, Industry 4.0, the digital twin, BIM is being kept separate. Lots of clients I talk to are talking about BIM and then IT and digital twin and digital data. We obviously now have in the UK, a lot of talk about golden threads. I've even seen golden blanket, golden key. We've seen digital logbooks, digital assets. So it's really becoming a bit of an issue. So really to address these issues, along with the others, such as labor shortages, economic growth, we need to look at the number of potential trends and developments that are likely to come in the near future with these three overlapping areas. And I would say I use this slide quite a lot. And again, back to Marcia's point, BIM is relevant for every stakeholder. It is not about, I would say, the modeling, is the management of the information, and it's about, my view is about transforming data to information, enabling digitalization of the construction industry value chain in the life cycle of assets. And when I talk about digitalization, we're talking about making digitized information work for current business models. The digitization is moving from analog systems to connected digital ones. And also digital transformation is creating new business models, new business applications for the data. So inventing new business models. So it is relevant for everyone. And we should not be talking about BIM in a separate manner to maybe digital transformation. And what we've seen at IBM is that the next, and genuinely in the market, the next era is around platforms. So and ecosystems. So the business platforms, industry, cross-industry platforms, and the outside in and inside out sort of trends, like I mentioned, productization, standardization, technology is becoming more and more accessible. We are now looking at intelligent workflows, meaning we really have to look at how we integrate applications and automate processes rather than enabling analog issues, elevating analog issues into a digital world where we're just using applications in silos. We have usually businesses would have ERP systems. They would have a front end, some stuff, digital tools, digital applications like maybe Autodesk and some others, and it will be totally disconnected. So I'm gonna jump, conscious of the time, I'm gonna jump, and I'm sorry I just ran through it quite quickly, but I just want to stick to the timing. So I'm gonna jump into some case studies really. First case study is about IBM working with client in Australia, Metro Tunnel construction projects for Rail Project Victoria. And again, one of their KPIs was looking at making sure there is a real-time single source of truth of documentation, making sure that they integrate hazard logs, interface different registers, minimize rework, and increase in reusability of design, and improve project agility. So their KPIs, you can see there's not were the BIM mentioned at once. They just have a KPIs and around documentation, health and safety, and being and deliver basically on time, on budget. But it's very much linked to what Marcia was talking about. It was about standardizing information management, and their ambition was to also look at ISO 19650 as their framework. The next case study is looking at a more likely a specific use case around health and safety. So method statements, risk assessment, and how to use an AI to analyze risk assessment method statement, finding keywords, scoring them, and then attaching a risk to it. So really preventing hazards.
Throughout construction, safety performance levels are being redefined. Existing systems are limited by resource, time, skill, and competency levels.
We're building a totally new classification of safety solutions powered by IBM Watson.
It's a new future that understands, senses, and reasons, and will change the face of health and safety forever, preventing injuries, and most importantly, saving lives. We've recognised a significant opportunity to revolutionise safety within the construction industry using AI technology powered by IBM Watson.
Aurora Intuitive Safety uses IBM AI technology to combine the skills, knowledge and experience of thousands of employees. It reviews, but most importantly improves, method statements and risk assessments far beyond current expectations.
The solution will be a standalone web application built on a cloud API with a user interface accessible via the internet, through which the user will be able to input method statements and risk assessments and retrieve the classification and scored results.
Watson will provide the ability to search myriad, disparate, unstructured information sources, delivering consistent, accurate and timely method statement reviews.
We're looking to make measurable improvements in the quality of safe systems of work, creating tangible resource efficiencies and cost savings of up to 90%.
Aurora and IBM are advancing safety, risk, quality and people performance through AI.
Together, we're redefining the future, making workplaces safer, meeting the challenges of not just today, but tomorrow.
Yeah, so that was a good showcase of a specific problem because, again, sometimes good to go basics and understand what you want to deliver, because it's very difficult to address, obviously, the entire end-to-end issue of the industry. So this was just a good use case of using AI, looking at data, the risk assessment method statements. Next one is it was a Ferrovial. Again, it was a pilot project. The Ferrovial, we worked with Ferrovial looking at some kind of a sensor for asset management, and looking at benefits like saving in lifetime costs for new infrastructure. It was project with I think it was Heathrow. It was a Heathrow Terminal 3. Looking at end-to-end flow of asset information, which would enable different stakeholders to work more collaboratively. But again, it was more about integration and of different applications and enabling the automation. So I would always use you might be familiar with Power Automate. So basically, how you can start looking at a more processes within the sector based on, for example, framework like ISO 19650, how you can then use the technology to enable the workflows, and how you can look at it end-to-end flow for that asset information. Yeah, and their benefits were also hundreds of hours of manual work were eliminated by automating that asset data management process. Instead of manual rework and manual sort of retyping and information from emails, PDF documents into different applications. The next case study would be last case study, really looking at another KPI with Sun & Belt, how to extend life of highways, bridges, utilities with kind of digital monitoring for early warning signs and signs of potential issues. So visual inspections, quick visual inspections like for inspection, work sensor configuration, reusing of designs of and different tasks for the bridge inspections, and also accident detections, so unstable loads detections. So let me play that video.
To the untrained eye, a bridge appears to be permanent, strong, stable, and it's not really moving. But this is an illusion. If it hasn't been inspected in the right manner and maintained in the same manner, a very sad accident can happen.
Maximo is a management system where we not only can write out work orders, but we see it as basically the foundation, the spine of everything we want to do from a digitization point of view.
The dream is that this technology can really help to reduce or maybe completely remove the risk of tragedies. Collapse of bridges, collapse of tunnels, collapse of buildings.
When we are having a bridge out in the sea, you have to be aware how the chloride is actually penetrating the concrete, because rust is one of the enemies for concrete structures. We literally have to hire mountaineers to climb the surfaces to actually do the inspections.
There are many disadvantages to traditional inspections. People's life is in danger sometimes.
Now we have changed that way of inspecting our concrete surfaces, from the mountaineer climbing around, using drones now.
Everything is done automatically. It's scalable. Scanning a bridge can take 1 day instead of taking a month.
All this data that feed into Maximo from sensor, from document, from images, and from other sources needs to be processed to extract knowledge, and that's where AI comes into play.
There's a huge stack of informal data, unstructured data, and we need a machine that's able to read and process unstructured information.
Maximo can do it in a fast way, in a repeatable way, in a scalable way, and once it learns to do the job, it learns forever.
Now we have a way to show a complete picture of the health of a bridge. And it's not every second year or every 6 years we can do that assessment. We can do it from second to second.
Yes, so my last really slide is, this is not a case study, but it's more likely really going back to basics, I think, as well, is on these return on investments. First image is showing my recent LinkedIn post around maybe how we can use what we have rather than talking about lots of buzzwords like digital twin, digital threads, and really look at what we have. We have QR codes already on products. We have something called CE marking, declaration of performance, how we can link it to maybe prevent or reduce fly tipping. So this was an example where I took a picture, found the QR code, managed to trace it down to where the product was produced, who produced it, where was it produced, what was the batch level, and I even managed to trace down the merchant distributor. And obviously they would have a knowledge of who purchased that material, and there is a potential of start looking at tracing and obviously probably reduce fly tipping and etc. And something as well, if you want, what I was proud to be a co-author of a digitization for construction work manufacturer plain language guide, good to look at in terms of in plain language, really talking about data, about transformation and etc. And we recently also tried to pull in different industry leaders across different sectors into a room and really asking them questions. Why isn't BIM or digital transformation not happening on large scales? So the summary is price is massive, efficiency, sustainability, top-down approach. Technology is critical, but it's enabling and supporting role. You should not jump on a technology first before you know what you want to solve, before you understand if, as a business, data or have a strategy understanding. So data architecture standards are the foundations for automation and are important, as well as regulation. Let's not forget also about talent and skills, transformation parallel, stop using buzzwords. We need to upskill existing workforce and looking at new skills. And finally, ecosystems, the drive for collaboration across different value chains. We can't do it on our own in silos. It's a need for really an ecosystem and collaboration across value chains. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Paul. Too, it's very interesting to see how something that that not only increases efficiencies can also provide real financial benefits as well. Now we have a few quick questions for you. Do you see any evidence that SME contractors are starting to engage seriously with BIM? If so, where in the world is this happening?
What I'm seeing is that some they do. The issue is that I always use that phrase is they're struggling to understand which frog they should kiss and to turn into a prince, if you want to call it this way. So they have usually very limited budgets and they only have one shot to invest the right way. And I think that is an issue. And I think the key roles should play like associations or federation of builders, European builders. I think that is a key, because some SMEs struggling to understand the language, and then they're struggling even to understand what they should and shouldn't pick.
Okay, AI seems like the answer to a lot of problems in construction. Will it have to disrupt to do this, or can it complement current tech?
I think again, AI is good to use when you want to use, when you understand what you're trying to resolve and what outcomes are you looking for. There's that misperception that AI will solve all the problems, and same like with blockchain and some of the other technologies. And I think that's usually is where we see the car crashes, as I call it, that businesses try some quick wins because others are doing it. That's usually the case. You ask them, why are you doing AI? Yeah, because others are doing it. And I think that's part of the problem. AI can be very useful, as you've seen in many examples today, probably, but it can also be a waste of money and a waste of time if you don't know why you want to deploy AI and what outcomes you're looking for.
Okay, and final question, what's the biggest driver for the adoption of digital tech? Is it the industry itself or is it governments?
I would say it should be the both. I think the government's been the driver because usually governments are the biggest spenders and they looking after our taxpayers' money, or they should be looking after our taxpayers' money. But in another way, I see a lot of businesses which they use the digital transformation in order to survive, really, and to kind of springboard to improvement on the margins. So it's probably a bit of a both, I would say.
Okay, well, thank you very much for answering those questions. And